Generational Boomer podcast. We are doing another live, but we are doing a live on YouTube. Doing a live on YouTube is a little easier going. I look forward to that. And we're going to talk a little bit about TikTok uh, and all the shit that's going on there. But we're going to be waiting for folks to show up and ask some questions. I know there's a bunch of questions about a bunch of things going on. Initially, I was going to do a live on TikTok because TikTok is back, right? 13 hours, fucker's back. Okay, so anyway, at this point, the fact of the matter is that there are some things you can't do on TikTok right now that you used to be able to do. One of them is going live. I don't know how long that's going to be the case, but we'll see what happens here. And what the hell? I'd much prefer to do the live on YouTube anyway. I'm feeling a little sketchy about TikTok with its return. There was a lot of weird stuff about it, especially the fact that Donald Trump is trying to take credit for bringing it back. What we need to do is we need to talk about how it all started, how this whole TikTok ban started. And trust me, I'm not going to talk about TikTok the whole time on a YouTube live. But just so people know about this TikTok ban, it's been very big news for some time. And then it finally shut down yesterday for about 13 hours, and then it came up again, which seemed kind of weird to me. Donald Trump wants to take credit for this bringing back TikTok. But what you have to remember is that Donald Trump is the reason there was ever talk of a ban on TikTok. You may not remember, it goes back to 2020. Remember during COVID? And Donald Trump was talking about ivermectin and shooting bleach in your veins and all that shit. Well, on TikTok, it went wild. They were making fun of him, memes and all this kind of shit. And this made poor Donnie Trump a little fucking angry. So that's when he said, we got to ban TikTok. It's Chinese, all this other shit. Well, they tried to ban it a number of times and couldn't get it through Congress until recently, of course. And then it did go through. And then President Biden signed it, which is crazy. And I don't think they really expected it to be banned. I think they expected ByteDance or TikTok to sell, that their pressure would be so great that TikTok would say, oh, okay, anything you want, sir. But they didn't do that, at least not that we know of at this point. So Joe Biden says, well, it's banned, but we're not going to enforce it. TikTok said, well, that's not good enough. We don't trust the government, which was probably a wise thing to do and say. So they said, we're going to shut it down. It was going to be at midnight, ended up being shut down about 8:30, and it shut down. Everybody freaked out. Everybody was grieving. It was really difficult for a lot of people. And I knew it was going to come back probably after Donald Trump was inaugurated, and then he would come by as the conquering hero. Well, Donald Trump, all he had to say was, when I get in tomorrow, then I will look for the extension. And they said, oh, okay, cool. That's good. We'll turn it back on. Now, here's the problem with TikTok. One thing about Donald Trump being the hero, in spite of the fact that he started this in the beginning, is TikTok now obliged to Donald Trump? And if he is, what does TikTok become? The thing about it is we don't know. I think initially we're not going to see as much influence by Donald Trump, if we see it at all, but not in the beginning. But we should pay attention closely to TikTok and any changes that are happening with it. I mean, this is what this was all about. It wasn't about data. It wasn't about the Chinese. It was about control over what people were saying. And they don't like that we have the freedom to speak out against Donald Trump or Joe Biden, whoever the hell it is. And they don't like the fact that they didn't have control. So ultimately, the goal here is to get some control. Okay, I've got a bunch of people coming here, and I'm glad of it. We need participation. Rebecca Saunders says, hi, Mike. Hey, Rebecca. She's a moderator on TikTok. If I could figure out a way to get them on here on YouTube, I would do it, and I'm going to figure that out eventually. Emo Goss says, you bruv, I'm learning English from Russia. So could you please Please explain the difference between the work is done and the work has been done. I'm not buying your bullshit. Somebody, now, you know what? I'll just get rid of him because I think he's full of shit. TJ the plumber is here. Rebecca's here. They're helping out. Heidi Overton says you just followed you on Substack. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm starting to learn Substack now, and it's an interesting place. I wasn't sure I'd like it at first, but now it seems to be picking up, and I'm not minding it so much. I'm on Blue Sky as well, and that's turned out to be a decent situation. Katie Voice says, glad to find you here tonight. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. TJ was saying that I'm freezing here now and then, and that's something we get on YouTube from time to time. And you know, the other thing I have to tell you, I'm not at home, so I'm not in my normal climes here. I'm in Georgia, and I'm in a clubhouse for the pool, but it's 40 degrees outside, so nobody's fucking swimming. We're just here. Candy says they don't want us speaking to each other. Well, that's exactly right. They don't like the fact, the government does not like the fact that we have free speech and the First Amendment, which is ironic since that's the First Amendment. But as I've told you many times before, this isn't a war, and make no mistake, we're in a war right now. This isn't a war between Democrats and Republicans. This is a war between us against them. This is a class war. The have and the have-nots, the elites and the non-elites. We are the non-elites, and we are the have-nots, even though we might be doing okay, not like Elon Musk with his billions of dollars and that sort of thing. Heidi Overton says, happy you mentioned Blue Sky. Yeah, I'm going to mention a couple places. I'm on TikTok. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with TikTok now that it's back because I'm not sure what it is. But I'm on YouTube, obviously. I'm on Blue Sky. I'm on Substack. I think I put something on Lemonade too, which is, I don't know why I did that. I put a picture up there and all of a sudden I got 30,000 followers. So I don't know if I should keep doing that or not, especially since it's tied to TikTok. TJ the Plumber says, we just witnessed one of the biggest propaganda operations in the history of our country. That's a good point, TJ. It does seem like we're gamed a little bit in this situation, you know? They threatened us with shutting down TikTok, and we said, oh no. Joe Biden could have done something, but he didn't do anything. And they said, well, if he's not going to do something, we'll shut it down, maybe wanting to see how we'd react. But you know what the thing about it is there are a lot of people looking at this and using, you know, so often the case, conspiracy theories. Oh my God, Meta bought it. It's all a big scam. I'm not going back to TikTok. And those people might be right. I don't know that it is true. I'm a big believer in apps. The value of the apps, it's just electronics. It's just technology. The real value in the apps is us, the voices, the people listening, the people reacting to these things. So my voice, your voice, whatever, is just as powerful on some other app. Now, granted, you got a lot of followers. I got a lot of followers on TikTok. Okay, it's like 427,000. That sounds crazy. But I'll tell you what, I'll guarantee you I'm not exposed to 427,000 followers on TikTok every day. It's a number, it looks good, it's an algorithm, but it is what it is. I get so many views a day like I would if I had half that many followers. So I don't take the follower thing too greatly. Now, YouTube, I'm closing in on 20,000, which isn't a lot, but a lot for me since I started a year or two ago. For me, it doesn't really matter what the numbers say as far as how many followers I have, or I like to call them peers because I'm not a leader. I'm not a cult leader. You're not my followers. You're with me in on this, and we're all equal partners in trying to knock down this orange dumb fuck. But to me, it doesn't really matter how many people are are listening. Like right now, we have 115 people watching this live, which is awesome. If I was on TikTok, it might be 400 or 500. Who cares? Half of them are probably Trumplafucks. We have better quality people on YouTube, more people of a like mind. And as long as there's an audience, I want to talk to them. I don't care about the followers. I'm not doing this for money per se. That said, I will take their money if they offer money because I know they're making money off of me and the rest of us. But I'm not doing it to build a career. Fuck, I'm going to be 65 years old. I've had my career. I want to talk a little bit about hold on a second here. I got somebody else I'm getting rid of. Jack says, I like Blue Sky and YouTube. Nikki Grandchamp, it's money, not law. You're absolutely right about that. Are you familiar with Pegasus software spyware? I am not, Zachariah. Please enlighten us. Liberation Day is tomorrow. Not sure what you mean. It's not a great day tomorrow. Donald Trump is inaugurated tomorrow. I'm just going to say this to people on this YouTube thing. Doing what I do, it's inevitable that I'll get some people who want to make fun of me or call me names or something like that. And I don't really give a shit about that. What those people think of me doesn't really matter. But some of these people will get on and speak out against some of the commenters. Here's the deal. You make one kind of disparaging remark about me or anybody else, you're gone. And TJ and Rebecca are out there to make sure of it. It's not that I really care what you think. It's that you muck up the whole process. We can't get to doing what we want to do if you're acting like a fucking child. So if you're a child, you're gone. Let's see here. My question is why Trump's word, who isn't president, is worth more than Biden's. That's an excellent point. Why does Donald Trump get the credit for TikTok coming back when he's not even the president? Well, that's what we have to ask. That's what we have to ask is what was going on with what was going on with the conversations between the TikTok CEO and Donald Trump? What was it? Was there some kind of agreement? Is TikTok now obliged to Donald Trump because Donald Trump saved him? I mean, they got to remember that Donald Trump is the one that fucking put him in this place in the first place back in 2020. So I'm not sure what's going on there, and that's what I think a lot of us are worried about at this point. Rebecca says Midas Touch is running puppy and kitty videos tomorrow. Yeah, the inauguration, the whole thing is very weird, and I'm not sure exactly what's going on. They had a parade, they had high school bands coming. They sent them a letter, said, yeah, don't bother to come. They were going to have it outdoors. It was going to be this outrageous thing, the biggest inauguration in history, as Donald Trump would say. But then they said, it's too cold. It's 24 degrees tomorrow, so we're going to do it indoors because Donald Trump cares so much about his cult members, which is ironic when you think about it. Think back to Coachella this past summer. He dragged people out in the middle of the fucking desert with 100+ degrees. They were keeling over because they couldn't get water or shade. And then when he took off, he left them standing in the desert. Forgive me, I don't think Donald Trump gives a shit about anybody else. So what Midas Touch is basically saying, you need to ignore this shit. Don't watch it. He's big on ratings. He's big on crowds. Don't give him the crowd. Don't give him the ratings. Midas Touch is a legitimate news source, beating Fox and MSNBC and in views and that sort of thing. So they said, we're just not going to run the inauguration. We're going to run puppies and kittens on Midas Touch. And I love that. That's a great touch. That's something I didn't expect. As Cole says, hi, Boomer. Glad to find you here. Glad to see you here as well. Facebreaker says, God bless you and your family. Thank you very much. Lila says, hi, Boomer. I'm just in. Have you discussed the rally in D.C. today? I have not, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know anything about what happened today. I'm sure it was a shit show. I thought they might cancel that too. I mean, you got the cold weather, and I know it was indoors, but I was surprised if he would do that. Um, um, Irvin Stein says, I'm sorry, my friend. He was elected with over 50%. He has a mandate. No, Irving Stein, you're absolutely wrong. He was elected in with 48 or 49%. He does not have a mandate. He won by maybe 2 million of the popular vote. You're wrong. You're listening to Donald Trump. He's a pathological fucking liar. So, see ya. Are you religious or earthly living? Mr. Joker. Is that a serious question? Am I religious? I don't believe in religions. I don't like organized religions. I do believe in God. I do believe in a greater power, and that's all you need to know at this point. Jordan says, yeah, the U.S. was built on letting people express their own opinions. As a Trump supporter, we shouldn't hate on our fellow citizens. So you're a Trump supporter? Well, people will say that to me. They will say, you can't hate them. You got to love your neighbor. Look, I'm willing to forgive a lot of shit. I'm willing to forgive a lot of shit. But when you've got a group of people that went out and tried to overturn elections, undermine democracy, and overthrow this country, sorry, that's a bridge too fucking far. That is too far. And I don't forgive that. S. Cole says, because TikTok will become a propaganda place now. Well, you know what? I hope that's not the case. But when Donald Trump is involved, almost anything can possibly happen. Anything can possibly happen. So I'm worried about that too. I'm playing with the idea of staying on TikTok, but usually just normally using it to promote what's going on YouTube and Substack and Blue Sky and that sort of stuff. Regardless of what happens to TikTok, you can always find the same material on YouTube, Substack, and Blue Sky and whatever else comes along that seems reasonable. Randy Dames, hopefully he will fix Social Security. Donald Trump fix Social Security? Donald Trump can't zip his pants after going to the bathroom. This man is incompetent. He's not about getting anything done. Everything is performance with Donald Trump. Everything is performance with Donald Trump. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't build anything. He can't govern. That's why I tell people, don't worry about all the things he's claiming to do, because he's just not capable. I'm not saying he won't do some fucked up things, but, Jesus Christ. Are those books or movies on the shelf behind you? They are books. They're not my books. I'm in a clubhouse next to the pool at where I stay in Savannah, Georgia. This isn't my normal location, but it is frequently a location I'm at. Nikki Pierce, Peace says, weird things are happening for sure. Yeah, that's the thing that troubles me more than anything. Donald Trump's not in office yet, and it's already getting chaotic. You would have thought after the first 4 years, people would be tired of the chaos. It got a little better under Joe Biden, but we still had Donald Trump to fucking deal with. So it was a little chaotic. Now that Donald Trump is going to come in, it's going to be very tiresome. TJ the Plumber says, I have to apologize to the listener. I was wrong about TikTok going dark, but the circumstances on what happened should be alarming to all Americans. I have to agree with you. Trump made people wait in the rain at Arlington today. Again, I didn't hear about the campaign rally he had today. I don't know exactly what went on. I'm sure it was much like every other campaign rally. I'd be curious, does anybody know what kind of crowd he got out there? That would be interesting to find out. But here's what Trump-lefucks have to understand. He decides that he's not going to have the inauguration outside. He's not going to have a parade. And all these Trump humpers collecting up their meth and mattress money to get up to Washington, D.C. to see their Lord and Savior. They put all this time and effort in, and then Donnie says, we're not going to do that. It's too cold. or it's a security issue, or whatever the hell it is. Or he's just upset because the crowd expected is much lower than he'd hoped for, and he doesn't want to be embarrassed. It could be any one of those things. But here's the thing. What Trump humpers are going to learn very quickly is this. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about you. Donald Trump is a user. He's a narcissist. That means he'll tell you anything. He will do anything to get what he wants from you. Once he gets what he wants from you, he doesn't give a shit about you. He doesn't care if you're mad or angry or sad or any of those things. He doesn't care about that shit. Here's the thing. Donnie has gotten everything he needs out of the Trumpaflux. He's gotten their money. He's gotten their vote. He doesn't have to run for re-election, so he doesn't need your vote. He's as the president of the United States. He can grift billions of dollars in so many ways. He doesn't need the pennies and the couch money from the fucking Trumpaflux. So you don't matter anymore. He doesn't care if you're mad. And you're going to learn this lesson very quickly over the next few months. Jack says he's going inside because his crowd size isn't what he'd like. Yeah, he's expecting a crowd about the size of his tiny motherfucking hands. He knows it's going to be an embarrassment. And here's what we know about Washington, D.C. The demand for the tickets has been low, way lower than he had expected. We know that hotel capacity in Washington, D.C. is like 60 or 70%, which is pretty low when you're having a big shindig like the inauguration there. He knows it's going to be an embarrassment. He knows there's video cameras going to be there. Since he's talked so much about inaugurations, and his first one being the biggest ever, and it wasn't, he knows people are going to be there and exposing him. And this clown doesn't care about governing, but he cares about being embarrassed because he's a narcissist. He knows if he goes outdoors and puts on the inauguration, it's going to be an embarrassment. Hell, the former presidents aren't even coming. Nancy Pelosi's not coming. Michelle Obama's not coming. Anybody with any clout's not coming because it's absolutely ridiculous. So the natural thing to do is to bring it indoors, into the rotunda at the Capitol. Only so many people can fit out there. His buddies, his Trumpaflux will be out in the cold, or they'll be shuffled over to some ice hockey arena where they can watch it on TV. And they are pissed. They are pissed at this point. Candy says his inauguration is suspicious. He usually likes the grand gesture. It's kind of weird. Well, yeah, you're right. The idea that Donald Trump doesn't want a big dog and pony show is suspect, to say the least. He always wants the dog and pony show. That's all Donald Trump can do. So the fact that he's stepping away from that is very strange. DT admitted today that Elon Musk ensured he won PA due to his vast knowledge of computers. Yeah, I did see that clip. He said, that's the one thing about Donald Trump. He will implicate himself. Just let him talk. The only problem with it is there is nobody in Washington, D.C., whether it be Democrats or the DOJ, who are willing to do anything about it. We've had people talking about, something's happening in the background. Donald Trump isn't going to be inaugurated. They've been saying this. I've got astrologers and psychics. It's a sure thing. I'm getting these weird thoughts. He's not going to get inaugurated. And I always pushed away from that because I've seen no sense of, there are weird things going on. There are some possibilities of some things that people could do. But as I've said so many times before, the thing about it is that the Democrats and the DOJ haven't shown any sign that they're willing to do anything, that they have balls enough to step up and take it to Donald Trump. So I'm really skeptical about what the Democrats are even willing to do. So here's the thing. If these people were right and something's going to happen at the last minute, time's running out. Noon tomorrow, Donald Trump will be inaugurated. And if nothing happens, I won't be surprised. I'm a little frustrated with these people saying, this is a sure thing. This is a sure thing. You're giving people false hope. And then what's going to happen? Just like on November 5th, they are going to be depressed, downtrodden, and upset and scared. We don't have time to fuck around and go through grieving twice. We've got what we've got in front of us. We've got to make plans. We've got to set our intention. Instead of being scared, we should be pissed off and ready to fight. Spacer7567 says Trump is going to get a rude awakening when he realizes his powers are limited compared to last term. Oh, yeah, absolutely. He's not going to have the strength and the power he had last time because he had the future to look forward to. Maybe a second election. He doesn't have that now. The Republicans aren't going to stand there and let him do just about anything. They've already pushed back on him with regard to the debt ceiling. Matt Gaetz, Rick Scott, they're pushing back against this guy. They've got nothing to lose if they push back against Donald Trump. He can say, well, I'll primary you, but I don't think anybody's really worried about that anymore. Donald Trump has never been weaker than he is at this moment. When he becomes president, he'll be even weaker. Once they've accomplished, meaning the Republicans accomplished getting him elected, then he becomes little more than a liability because he's a fucking goof, because he's uncontrollable. And the Republicans will want some control because come midterms, a lot of these Republicans are going to want to get reelected. And that's going to be hard if the economy sucks or the optics of deportations are out there. They're going to take the heat for that sort of thing. So it's going to be problematic. Fraga says, hi from San Antonio, Texas. Love your city. Great city. Candy says he's probably... Rebecca says, Candy, he's probably pocketing half the money he raised by moving it indoors. You're absolutely right about that, Rebecca. As I understand it, there was a lot of money spent on these tickets. Now, these people aren't going to get to see the inauguration because of Donald Trump's choice to move it indoors. Some people have been asking about refunds. And they said, that's not going to happen. We're not going to refund it. You can go to the arena, but not all of you will fit in there. But it is a keepsake. That ticket's a keepsake, a historical keepsake. Yeah. There's going to be some pissed off Trump-la-fucks. Clyde Workman says, you're great. You keep me relaxed. Well, thank you very much. The thing about it is, Clyde, people want to be upset. They want to be scared. They want to be worried. They want to go through all this stuff. But it is what it is. I mean, what's going to happen is going to happen. We can't worry about the past. We can't worry about the future. We just have to worry about what's in front of us and how we react each and every time something confronts us. And I know it's hard for people because people want to worry. I don't typically worry. I look at Donald Trump as an absolute fool, a failure, and incompetent. That's going to make it that much more difficult for him to do anything once he's in office. I'm kind of anxious for him to get in office so we can start tearing the shit down that he does. Here's some good news when Donald Trump becomes president of the United States. He controls the Oval Office. The Republicans control the House of Representatives. The Republicans control the Senate, right? Well, they've got a slim margin in the House. It's going to be tough to get anything passed. You've got the filibuster in the Senate. They need 60 votes. They only have 53. So it's going to be tough for him to get anything done. But the best part of this, with Donald Trump taking the presidency and the House and the Senate being the way they are, everything that happens, every bad thing, every crazy thing, every stupid thing, every failure, going to be Donald Trump's fault. Going to be the Republicans' fault. That's what they did to Joe Biden and the Democrats the last 4 years, and that's what we need to do in this case. The problem is the Democrats were pretty successful, and Joe Biden passed a lot of bills that were very helpful and unprecedented. Donald Trump won't have that benefit. He won't be able to do that, but he will fail. He will look stupid, and we need to point that out over and over again. Make sure that's the narrative. Donald Trump is a fool, he's a failure, and he's a criminal. We keep doing that, and hopefully it will have some benefit when we get to the election. Are you happy about Trump? Because I hate him. No, I'm not at all happy that Donald Trump was elected president. Quite frankly, I'm absolutely embarrassed by this country for reelecting him. I mean, I would hope against hope that there's some way he cheated and we can prove it and something is done about it. Because in my wildest dreams did I ever imagine that there would be enough dumb people in this country to elect him again. It made no sense. He was the absolute worst possible candidate. He's proven to be a criminal. He's been convicted. He's been adjudicated of sexual assault. I mean, this guy is a piece of shit. How does he get elected? That's my question. I know when I went to bed on election night, my wife got up before I did, and all I heard her say to me is, he won. That motherfucker won. You promised me. And I looked at her and I said, he won? It makes no logical sense. The whole thing made no logical sense. So I didn't know what to say. This whole thing has been a surprise to me. Sailor Gabby says a third of eligible voters stayed home. I don't know if it was a third, but you're absolutely right. If you're looking for somebody to blame about Donald Trump winning the presidency, he got about the same amount of votes he did last time. So the Republicans didn't come out in force. There was no mandate. There was no red wave like they try to claim there is now. But a lot of Democrats sat home for whatever reason. They were protesting the war in Gaza. They were upset about some of the economic policies for Joe Biden. But here's the deal. I tried to explain this to somebody the other day. People are under the impression that I'm going to vote today and I'm going to get everything I want. I'm only voting for that person that gives me everything I want. That's the only thing I'm going to do. And I'm sorry, it doesn't work out that way. It just doesn't fucking work out that way at all. You had an opportunity to vote for Kamala Harris or Donald Trump. Now, Kamala Harris may not be everything you want, may not offer everything you need. But if you vote for Kamala Harris, then you at least have an opportunity to build from there and go on down the line. By not voting for Kamala Harris, you in turn vote for Donald Trump. He gets in, and guess what? All your hopes and dreams aren't going to happen at all, because Donald Trump will not put you on that path. He will not help you. He will only help himself. So as much as you may not have liked Kamala or Joe Biden, they were the best option to get to you to where you need to be. But these people who didn't vote, they fucked around and found out. And as much as the Trump-fucks are going to find out, they're going to be hurt as bad or worse than anybody in Donald Trump's efforts. Those people on the left, they're going to have to look around and say, oh, what the fuck did we do? The question is, will they realize it? Will they realize it? All right, we got a lot of messages deleted. Seems like we got a lot of Trump-fucks out there. Ethan Mitchell, tuning in from London, England. It's 2:50 a.m. Hope all is well. Much love and support. Well, Ethan, thank you very much. Yeah, it's going fine. I think a lot of people believe that when Donald Trump gets to be president, it's Armageddon, it's all over, we're done. Those people want to curl up in the corner and cry. Well, that does no good. As I've said before, if you wonder what Donald Trump will get accomplished in this term, keep in mind he's weaker than he was the first time. And what did he get accomplished in his first term? Well, he did get a tax break for the wealthy people, so that was his main job. But all the other things he talked about, like he was talking about deportation back in the day, back in the first term, guess what? He deported fewer people than Barack Obama did by quite a bit. Donald Trump's not capable of putting things together, and the clowns that are his nominees are as incompetent as he is. Rebecca Sanders says, there are a shit ton here, Mike. Well, yeah, there are some Trump-fucks out there. And here's the thing, to those people that support Trump, what are you here for? What do you want to argue about? You've got the inauguration of your Lord and Savior tomorrow. Shouldn't you be getting ready, getting some sleep, and preparing to make America great again? That's what you promised. You promised lower eggs prices. You promised lower gas prices. You promised inflation coming down. I expect once you get Donald Trump in office, you're going to start working on that. Why do you want to argue with me? We lost. You won. Take the win and go do something with it. But you know what? You can't. You don't know how to do anything with it. And now all you can do is fight. Well, if all you can do is fight, when are you going to find time to fucking govern? Can you shout out my immigrant friend, Dixon Mayes? He's a huge fan. Well, Dixon, if you're out there, I appreciate you. Stay safe during these times. And I appreciate the fact that you listen to the stuff I do. Let's see. Let's see what else we have here. I'm a new follower and instantly followed you on YouTube. Lay Cook. Thank you, Lay. I appreciate that. You'll be happy to know I'm here all the time. And I don't do it based on my good looks. I just talk. And sometimes it's not even a quality talk. It's just that I talk a lot. But one of the reasons I do what I do the way I do it is because this isn't how Democrats typically talk. This is how a Republican talks. And when a Republican comes up and I'm talking with them, they're confused. Oh, you libs are supposed to be weak and passive and going high when we go low. Here's the problem. I am liberally oriented. But if you want to go low, I'll get in the fucking mud with you. I'll fight with you, because that's the only way you can deal with bullies, is to fight on their level and beat their ass. Just a chill guy. You know he's smart because there are books behind him. Well, I don't know that I'm smart, and I haven't read one of those books. This isn't my place. This is a clubhouse, and those books are back there. And every time I've come in here, I've done some kind of TikTok or I've done some kind of podcast. Never read one of the books. In fact, I'll tell you this. People will say, "What was your major in college?" Well, let me tell you something about college here. I was in college for 1 year, just 1 year. And I was majoring in drinking and partying. And I got so good at drinking and partying in that first year. In a sense, the college said, hey, you want to just test out? You seem to be pretty accomplished about that. And after the first year, we both agreed that, yeah, I didn't need this anymore. And I went off in the world and worked in radio and all that sort of thing. Let me tell you something about intelligence. Education is important. It's a good basis for someone's intelligence. But the real intelligence comes from when you're out of school in the world, is to be curious, to be interested, and be motivated to go after information. Even something that you think you might not get interested, the more you know, the smarter you'll be. Education is important, but it's not the only thing, and education never stops. You got to be curious and looking for answers to whatever is concerning you. God bless you and God bless America. Facebreaker, thank you very much. What a condescending comment, Ethan. Yeah, Ethan, don't worry about it. I get a lot of condescending comments. I get a lot of mean comments. But here's the thing. The Trumplefucks can say whatever they want. I just don't care. And you know why? Because you don't count. You don't count to us as libtards. And guess what? You don't count to Donald Trump anymore. He already wrung you out for everything he needed. Your money, your attention, your crowds, and your vote. And now that he's gotten that, he doesn't need you. Don't believe me? How did he disappoint you by having inauguration and this great party, and then he said, fuck you, I don't care what you paid, I don't care how far you drove, I'm putting it in a indoors at the rotunda, and you can just fuck yourself. That's what Donald Trump did to you. And if you think that's the last time he will do it, you're mistaken. And you're got a lot of people out here, Rebecca and TJ. We got some live ones out there. And you know what? People always say, well, when they come in and they're mad at you, I love the fact that they're mad at me. I love the fact that I'm getting in their heads. They should be celebrating this joyous occasion, this historic occasion of Donald Trump becoming president. Instead, they're sitting here with me on YouTube on the night before the inauguration. That's all they got to do. How about a little governing? How about a little bit of making America great again? Apparently, you don't know how to do that. Sailor Gabby says, wrong. She was a U.S. Senator and the current Vice President, Ethan, stop hating. Oh, yeah. I love this when they say, well, she didn't have enough experience. Motherfucker, please. She was a prosecutor. She was an attorney general in California. She was a U.S. senator. She was a vice president and a presidential candidate. You know what J.D. Vance was? J.D. Vance was a senator for 2 years, and the only reason he got the Senate seat because he had no political experience. Peter Thiel buried millions of dollars in him and bought that seat for him. J.D. Vance wrote one book that was turned into a movie, never did anything politically. Don't tell me there's even a comparison. Donald Trump has no experience. Donald Trump had no experience with politics when he became president, and he behaved like it. His hair will shrivel in the cold and fall off. Well, his hair is an issue. Remember when he went over to Normandy and it was raining and he was supposed to go to the cemetery and he was worried about his hair and he didn't go see the veterans who have died in foreign wars. He's a disrespectful motherfucker that only cares about himself. Billy, it's because the working class is working, bud. I don't. There's so many people that have been X'd out of this. It's hard to get context sometimes. He is a carnival barker. Hello from the 51st state, LOL, Canada. You know, I've been listening to your premieres up there, and they don't seem to be too terrified of Donald Trump. They have no problem putting their foot down and sticking it up Donald Trump's ass. And that's what we need. We need more people like that in Mexico and Canada and Panama and every other country. Nobody takes Donald Trump seriously because he's a fool. He's a joke. He says a lot of things, but he doesn't accomplish many things. Karen says his life is in danger. Well, I don't know that that's true, and I hope there's no assassination attempt or anything like that. We don't want that kind of violence. But when you create the chaos and the terror in people, people feel desperate and they react and they do things. And I'm hoping against hope that doesn't happen, but that certainly is a risk. And he probably should get good protection, and maybe being indoors will help him do that. We have a MAGA friend in D.C. She hasn't posted in 2 days. Well, that's interesting. The MAGA folks are going to wake up some morning and go, what the fuck happened? They aren't going to be happy about this. It's not going to go well for them, and they're going to be sad, and they're not going to know what to do. They put everything into their Lord and Savior, Donald Trump, and he will reject them, and he will leave them standing in the desert or in the snow or wherever it is. That's what Donald Trump does. He's done it to everybody he's ever had around him. Look at what he did to all the people who were on his first cabinet. Every one of those people on his first cabinet have either been fired, they've quit, they've been indicted, they've testified against him in court. These are all his people, and that's what the thing is with narcissists. Narcissists look good from a distance for some people. But when you get close to them and you see the cracks and you see the flaws, you go, holy shit, this guy is fucked up. Let's see here. Karen says, I agree Trump's running scared of his own supporters. Serves him right. Yeah, that's what's going to be interesting. When his own supporters turn on him, what will he do? It won't matter because he doesn't need their vote. I'll give you another example. If he puts tariffs on, like he did the first time around, he put tariffs on China. China then refused to buy our farmers' soybeans. Those soybeans rotted in the fields. These farmers were desperate. They were dying on the vine. So what does Donald Trump do? He comes out and bails them out with $58 billion. And they were happy with that, even though Donald Trump put them in that position. Now he wants to do tariffs again, and this could very well put farmers in that same situation. Except Donald Trump's very transactional. What's in it for him to bail them out? Nothing. He doesn't need their vote. He doesn't even need them to like him anymore. So these people are going to bet that Donald Trump may put them in harm's way, will bail them out. I wouldn't bet on it. I definitely wouldn't bet on it. Because unless you got something to give Donald Trump that he wants, he ain't giving you shit. Let's see here. says Elizabeth Cheney. I doubt it's the real one. I can picture people running around trying to baby-proof the White House. Well, in a sense, they're kind of doing that. A lot of the departments are trying to do things to help them avoid some of the goofy shit that Donald Trump wants to do. They are kind of baby-proofing all of government at this point. TJ the Plumber says, dumb fucks are out in full force tonight. Dumb fucks, Trumplafucks, what are you doing? This is the Sabbath. You're supposed to be praying to your orange Jesus. He's going to be inaugurated tomorrow. This is a big day for you. But tomorrow, after tomorrow at noon, you're going to have to produce. You're going to have to back up the shit you say. And guess what? For the next 4 years, every time you fuck up, every time you fail, every time prices go up and not go down, I'm going to be here talking shit about you. Everybody's going to be talking shit about you. You better have some answers because you sure seem pretty proud of going after Joe Biden. Now it's your turn. What the fuck are you going to do? Trump is the orange Jesus now. Yeah, he is. Let's see here. What's up with Biden not protecting himself and other Trump opponents with preemptive pardons? Is he not taking Trump's threats seriously? That's a good question. I thought he might protect. I don't know that he has to protect himself. I mean, he's the president. He has fucking immunity. He can do whatever the hell he wants. Liz Cheney probably said, my dad is fucking Satan. I dare that motherfucker to do something to me. Dick Cheney's 150 years old. He still has the ability to take Donald Trump down a peg or so. I don't know what he's going to do. He could do it at the very last minute, the moment, at 11 o'clock tomorrow or today, if you're listening on the podcast. He could do it at that point. So we're not sure that he's not going to do it. But if he doesn't, he obviously has some reason for it. See, it goes back to, he knows what we all know too, is Donald Trump has all these big plans to do all these things. He's not good at accomplishing things. He's a big talker. He's not much of a doer. And frankly, he can't just go after everybody and investigate them, because when it goes to court, he's going to lose. And if he's going to lose in all these court cases, when is he going to have time to make America great again, for fuck's sake? SS says, I hope you're right. The man is just a con. Money, money. The general store is growing. We are America. Yeah, we have to remember that. We can't just bow our heads and say, well, we got beat. We're just going to have to take our whooping. Not me. Not you. We ain't doing that. We're going to fight back. We're going to be loud. We're going to carry the narrative. And we're going to embarrass these fools every day until something changes. As Cole says, he's a lame duck. Yeah, he absolutely is. He's not going to get reelected in 2028. The Republican Senate and Republican House don't have as much invested in him. If he does some stupid shit, they're going to push back. They already have. Have you seen his confessions in his speech tonight? I have not. I probably should have looked at that before I did this live. But I'll be honest with you, it's hard for me to watch Donald Trump talk. It's so silly. And to see people buying into it, I can't believe. I'm embarrassed by how ignorant some people are. I'm certainly not watching the inauguration tomorrow. I'll wait for clips and hear what he said. I know it'll be a shit show. I know it will be dark and dystopian, but that's who Donald Trump is. It says, I believe he offered a number of pardons, but it's tricky because to accept one, you basically have to admit wrongdoing. Perhaps people are willing to take their chances. That's an excellent point, Sailor Gabby. If you get pardoned, you have to admit you're guilty. You're being pardoned for being guilty. And I can see Liz Cheney says, fuck that, I'm not guilty. Let them bring it. Bring it, motherfuckers. And I think most people would probably balk at it. Now, in the case with Hunter Biden, he was already found guilty. So that pardon, he didn't have to admit he was guilty. He was found guilty. So it was easier for him to do that. Cat Sound says, I really think a lot of Trump voters think he'll live to be 150. Yeah, I tell you what, if you eat enough Big Macs and chocolate shakes and fries, you're not going to live to 150. Have you seen this man? This man will tell you he's 6'4", 230 pounds. Yeah, right. So am I. I'm 6'4", 230 pounds. This motherfucker is so out of shape and so in trouble, physically, financially, and emotionally. He can't make it the next 2 years. He either will be booted out by the Republicans one way or another, or he physically won't be able to take it. He'll keel over. Clyde Workman says, I worry more my family, most of my disabled wife. So thank you for being there for us. Well, I'm happy to be here for you and help out in any way I can. Um, let me talk about this. And Eric and TJ and I have talked about this before. People are very concerned about him taking away Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and all those things. These are talking points for Republicans. These are ways to get billionaires to side with them. The actual possibility that they would actually be able to accomplish that is near zero. Doing something to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, whatever else is political suicide. This covers all people in this country, Republican and Democrat. If you're going to take away the income from some people or who have that only as their income, you're going to see a problem. You're going to see a big problem. And the Republicans know this. They're not going to allow that to happen. They're going to talk a big game. They're going to act like they're tough, like they did for 50 years with overturning Roe v. Wade. I don't see them being able to do anything with Medicare or Social Security or Medicaid. He isn't just a lame duck. He's a lame duck on life support. Yeah, that's pretty much true. I mean, this is one of the things that frustrates me about Democrats. Democrats will hear Donald Trump say something, and they'll shake and shiver and clutch their pearls and wring their hands as if everything he said is going to come true. Well, when has that ever been the case, that everything he says is going to come true? 99% of it is bullshit. 99% he never gets done. So don't give him the credit of believing the things he says. The other thing I will tell you too, there's a lot of people afraid right now. You can't do that. Donald Trump and the Republicans are bullies. They strive on fear. They want you to be afraid. That's what bullies want you to do. So if you are afraid right now, you're giving them exactly what they want and you're helping them to win. The only thing you can do with a bully is slap the taste out of their mouth and say, fuck off and back off. That's all you can do. And that's what we'll do with Donald Trump as long as he is in office and any other Republican that follows him. Let's see here. Not happy about Trump. I hate him. Yeah, join the line. Unfortunately, I think people are just stupid en masse. You know, I think the people that I have that are listeners on the podcast or the TikToks, I think we have a lot of very bright people in this country. I don't think the entire country is stupid, but we have a large faction, a large percent of people that are ignorant, unmotivated. They want to hear what they want to hear, and as long as they hear that, they believe that to be the truth. And the fact of the matter is, that's not the case. But I think there's a lot of people out there that are dumb, and I think they're unmotivated, and they don't really care. They're just trying to get by, and they'll believe what anybody tells them as long as it's what they want to hear. Okay, Nan says he confessed twice in his speech. I didn't hear the speech. So, Nan, if you or somebody else can write in here and tell me what he said, I'd be anxious to hear about it. Kitty K says, oops, everyone fell for the TikTok rope-a-dope. Yeah, I don't know if it was a TikTok rope-a-dope or not, but it kind of seems like it, doesn't it? It does seem like an interesting game. Joe Biden said, we're not going to enforce that. And they said, we don't care. We're going to still shut it down. And they shut it down. And presumably they were going to shut it down for 36 hours until Donald Trump became president. Then Donald Trump says, oh, I won't do anything. And TikTok says, oh, okay, then we'll flip it back on. 13 hours later. It does seem a little suspect. And honestly, at this point, I'm a little suspect of TikTok. I'm going to use them for what I can and see what happens. And if it looks like they're going the way of X or True Social, I'm out of there. And I feel bad about that. I don't feel like I have any responsibility to the app TikTok. Whatever they've given me, I've given them in return. That's why when people ask me about being in the Creators Fund, they don't pay a lot of money to be in the Creators Fund. And I'm not doing this for the money. But here's my thought. If you're going to use what I do and make money, I'm going to want my cut. I'm going to want my taste. Because if you're not willing to give me a taste, I'm not going to give you something that you're going to make money from. And that's how everybody should feel. The app is the app. But the people on the app are the ones that make it successful. They're the ones that bring in the viewers, and they should be treated accordingly. And at this point, I don't know that TikTok's doing that. Spacer says, did you see the marches in Washington yesterday and the protest in Portland? The pushback is starting to sprout. Republicans might not have hope for 2028 as there is no true replacement for Trump. Yeah, you're absolutely right. The protests are going to be big, and they're going to be ongoing. It's not just going to end after the inauguration. There are going to be a lot of protest, a lot of pushback. And this is exactly what we need to do. We have to do this in order to keep the pressure on. And you talk about 2028. I'm not even thinking out that far. I'm thinking about 2026 during the midterms. They are going to have a real problem trying to get any of their people elected. David Stonebeck says, are you aware that your entire mind and being, what the fuck does that even mean? Nudges made. How does he get elected? Hillary, Kamala put up a decent candidate. They're morons. Well, that's a good question. How did Donald Trump beat Hillary and Kamala? Both superior candidates to Donald Trump. How does he beat them? And here's my sense. As well as we've got a lot of dumb people that will believe whatever Donald Trump says, fall for the rhetoric, fall for the bullshit. Clearly, the problem here is we've got more racist and more sexist in this country. The fact that Hillary and Kamala, both women, lost to Donald Trump suggests to me that there are people out there that just can't see a woman president, which it befuddles me. Why would that be the case? Kamala and Hillary were some of the most experienced candidates we've ever had for president. I mean, Hillary was a senator. She was a secretary of state. She knew what the fuck she was doing. Kamala, very experienced. Donald Trump doesn't know jack shit from jack shit, and he doesn't even try. There isn't an explanation for it other than Democrats and Republicans in this country have a tendency toward racism and sexism, and that's unfortunate. We would think better of this country, but unfortunately, they did nothing but embarrass us. Scorpio's Core says, good day from Adelaide, Australia. Good day. Thank you for joining us today. Glad I got to see Mike live again. Well, I'm going to do more lives. I might do some on TikTok too. What I like about TikTok is I'm able to bring a lot of people on and have other people to talk to, and that's very helpful, and I think it's very informative for folks. I think on YouTube, I can pull one guest on. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. It's not as intuitive as what we have on TikTok. But I'm going to be doing more lives on YouTube because I really, even though I have more followers on TikTok, I really feel like YouTube is my base. This is where I feel the safest. This is where I feel the most comfortable. This is where I feel I have more control over what I'm doing as opposed to on TikTok. Because TikTok just has to say, nope, don't like that. Nope, we don't like that. And they do it frequently, and it's frustrating. Jay says, Democrat turnout was consistent for decades outside of last election. Yeah, maybe that's true. But here's the thing. In the 2022 election, we had an impressive turnout too. 2020, we had a record turnout. Now, my belief in 2020 was that Joe Biden wasn't the great candidate at that point because nobody knew much about him. He hadn't been president yet. I believed that the reason people came out in droves because they either supported Donald Trump or they were terrified of Donald Trump. They were terrified, and that's why the Democrats came out. So it's reasonable to think if in 2020 they were terrified of Donald Trump, after all that happened between 20 and 24, that they were more terrified, more upset. They knew more about Donald Trump. He's a convicted felon, adjudicated sexual assaulter. It seemed to reason to me that people would be more afraid, and that would suggest a bigger turnout. That's not what happened. I can't explain it. Jay Carrero says, so you're happy to pay more, don't care about America first. How did it work last time with Donald Trump? When Donald Trump left office, the economy was crashed. Joe Biden brought it back. We had inflation go down. We've had prices going down. Let me ask you this. I tell you what, if Joe Biden were in office and it actually did go up in prices, I'd be happy to pay the extra prices just not to have to deal with the bullshit that Donald Trump is going to rot on us. But that's not the case. Joe Biden did a hell of a job. He knew what he was doing. He brought down inflation. He brought down prices. And he would do more of it, or Kamala would do more of it, if given the chance. Donald Trump's answer to bringing down prices is tariffs. Any idiot, you don't even have to be an economist. Any idiot knows the tariffs are going to raise prices. And let me ask you this, Jay Carrero. You're so sure that Donald Trump is going to bring down prices. Why is it that after he was elected and he was interviewed, he says, yeah, I don't know if I can bring prices down. That's going to be hard. Yeah, the inflation's going to be hard. He lied to you. You can tell me whatever you think, but you're basing it on what Donald Trump told you. And we know Donald Trump is a pathological fucking liar. So you got fooled. You got fooled. I hope you'll come back in the next month or 2 months and tell me about how those prices are lower, because they're not going to be lower. They're going to go up. And you know what? I'm going to be okay. I'm an old man. I don't have a lot of expenses. It's the poor young people in this country that are going to get fucked over because we got a clown in the presidency. Carlos Martinez says, George Carlin, there's a lot of dumb motherfuckers in this country. He is absolutely right. God rest his soul. Karen Barrett says, are the moderators on tonight? Karen, they are on tonight, and they're working their asses off because apparently these Trump-fucks don't know anything about trying to make America great again, so they just thought they'd come and argue with me. John Reed says, if one looks closer at the world, there are always red ants underneath. It's ants underneath anything. It's ants. Cat Sound says, I don't think it's an excuse, but people with families and jobs don't have a lot of free time to follow politics closely. A 4-day work week would help some. Yeah, there's a lot of things we need to do to help the middle class and the poor people in this country. But you don't have to read a lot of newspapers or watch a lot of television to understand that the Republicans aren't looking to benefit you. Never in history have they done that. They came up with trickle-down economics. Give the rich all the money and it'll trickle down to the middle class. Well, guess what? 45 years, that's never worked. And why? Because the upper class is greedy motherfuckers. It could trickle down. Theoretically, it's not a bad idea, but they don't do it. They're fucking greedy. So if you're somebody who doesn't understand politics, look at the track record as to how it's worked for people in your position. If you're a middle class person or somebody who's struggling with poverty, when have the Republicans done something for you? When have they helped you? Never. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out. In the last 4 years, Joe Biden did help the middle class. So it's not a hard choice here. Who's going to help me? Who's going to fuck me? Republicans will fuck you. Democrats will help you. Maybe not as much as you'd hope they are, but I'd rather have a little help than being fucked. That's just me. All right. The fact that YouTube doesn't translate it from English into German is comprehensible. Sounds interesting, but I don't understand English very well. Well, I'm sorry about that. And I don't know that they don't do translations, but I appreciate you listening in. I want to see a classy woman to win. I would love to. We had a classy woman in Kamala Harris. She would have been the perfect president. I've never been excited about any president coming in, but I was about Kamala because I thought she would bring us into a point where we would finally be on the proper path to where we need to go. She may not be able to fix everything, but we needed to get on the path. What happened with Donald Trump, the most disturbing thing to me is that not the things that he might do, because I don't think he can get a lot accomplished, but here's 4 years that are going to be wasted when nothing is going to be done. Nothing is going to be done. It's a waste of time and possibilities. Can you say my name? It's Bella. Okay, Bella. Trump is a lame duck from day one. He is absolutely. Man, you moderators are working your ass off. Trumplefucks are trolling because they aren't invited to the party with the rich. Yeah, apparently they got a lot to do since they aren't going to the inauguration now. Yeah, and they're frustrated. Don't get frustrated with me. As far as I know, you can go to the inauguration. Donald Trump's the one that told you can't go because he doesn't need you anymore. He doesn't care. We tried to tell you this for 8 years. We've tried to tell you this, but you wouldn't fucking listen. Donald Trump's going to throw you under the bus and kick you aside because there's nothing more he can squeeze out of you. You're already seeing it. You're seeing it with the inauguration. He's only begun to disappoint you. Donald Trump has disappointed everybody he's been involved with. His mom, his dad, his brother, his teachers, the people that work with him and work for him. He's disappointed people every goddamn day. And to think he's not going to disappoint you, well, you're fooling yourself. Absolutely. Lexi Jenkins, did I miss your take on the inauguration being moved inside? We can talk about that again. It's just a weird situation. They're saying it's too cold. Barack Obama and JFK and some others had the inauguration with lower temperatures than Donald Trump. And when has Donald Trump ever cared about how these people are affected? I reminded folks that this past summer in Coachella, he brought people to the fucking desert when it was 100+ degrees. He came late and made them wait. There was no shade. There was no water. People keeled over while they were listening to his bullshit. And then when he got up and left, he left them stranded there. So don't tell me Donald Trump cares about people in the cold. Secondly, there's the security possibility. Yeah, there's some security possibilities out there. When you do what you do to this country and the people in it, you terrify people. And when people get terrified, they get irrational. And there can be these lone nuts out there doing something crazy. So security certainly might be an issue. I think more than anything else, it has to do with his ego. Tickets weren't selling very fast. Hotel capacity is at like 60 or 70%, which is crazy on an inauguration day. He knows the crowd's going to be weak. So the only thing he can do is put it in a smaller venue, stack that up, and try to tell us that there are millions waiting to get in. But I was being a nice guy because it's cold. It's all bullshit. It's what Donald Trump does. It's always bullshit. Congress will be gridlocked because the majority is slim. Yeah, here's the deal. If you want to put it this way, the Democrats need to do exactly what the Republicans did. Just block everything they do, any crazy fucking thing. They've got a slim margin in the House of Representatives, like 2 people. Something happened just recently. I don't know if you heard the story. Representative Mike Turner, a Republican, was in charge of the House Intelligence Committee. He's a Republican. He votes with Donald Trump. So, and you've got a slim margin in the House. You need every vote you can get. Well, for some reason, Mike Turner pissed off Donald Trump. He didn't like something that Mike Turner said or believed. So he went to Mike Johnson and says, fire him. I don't want him as the co-chair. So that's what he did. And needless to say, Mike Turner is a little upset about this, as anybody would be. So Mike Turner is mad enough where he says, fuck these guys, I'm not voting for anything. Can you imagine the House of Representatives when you got a 1 or 2 person margin in the majority and you pissed off one of these people enough to say, I'm not voting for anything. Fuck you, suck on it. This is what Donald Trump does, and this is how Donald Trump is an idiot. Crafty Granny says, TJ and Rebecca are doing a great job. Thanks. Yes, absolutely. Rebecca and TJ, you're working your ass off. I'm seeing all the ones that you've had to delete, and it's truly amazing. You know what I'm thinking here? I'm pulling more Trumplefucks in the crowd than Donald Trump will. Isn't that amazing? I'm pulling more people than Donald Trump will. The Rook one says, been here 1 minute and subscribed already. Blue Wave 2026. Rook one, thank you very much. And I want you to understand something. I do want people to subscribe. And it's not about my ego. It's not about making money. It's not about crowing about how many followers I have. And one of the reasons I don't talk to Trumplafucks that much, I've had occasion to talk to them. They usually get their ass kicked, and I feel dirty after that. So it doesn't really do any good to talk to them. But what we're trying to do is pull as many like-minded people together. You know, the Democrats have had trouble with their messaging, so we need a message. And the more people we can pull together, the more power we have, the louder the voice we have. And since the Democrats and the political side aren't willing to do it, then we have to do it. We've got to get loud, we've got to get proud, and we've got to keep shoving it down the Republicans' throats. We got to do whatever we can to get them out of office. Trumplafucks must have boring lives if they're here. Yeah, their lives probably aren't very fulfilling. If your greatest thing is your MAGA hat and praying to the orange Jesus, yeah, you got to wonder if their life is worth living at this point. Michelle and Peter Mark says, so many Trumpers on the chat tonight, they're just so offended by others' platforms. Go away and chat on your own channels. Well, Michelle and Peter, here's the deal. These clowns come to this platform or other platforms like mine for one very good reason. They can't build a platform. They can't get attention. They're not very smart, so people don't pay attention. So what they do is they try to infiltrate somebody else's platform so they can spew their stuff. But they forget they're stupid. So when they say these things in the platform, finally getting an audience, they just look more foolish. They can't win for fucking losing at this point. All right. Sounds like you're looking to fight. We're in a fight right now. I'm a 65-year-old man. I don't get into barroom fights, but we're in a fight for the future of this country, for democracy, and we've lost a number of battles up to this point. It's frustrating to me. As I've told people before, in my position in life, at 65 years old, retired and all of that stuff, my life isn't going to change regardless who's president. But I have kids, I have grandkids, eventually I'll have great-grandkids, and I'm worried about what's going to be left to them. I feel like it's our duty to fight for those younger people that are going to be stuck with whatever we leave them, and I'm not content with leaving them with Donald Trump. The Twilight Zone for the next 4 years if he doesn't appoint himself king for life. Michelle, I appreciate what you're saying, but this is what I was talking about before. Don't think that Donald Trump is all powerful. He's not. He's not all powerful. He's got a lot of guardrails. Congress isn't going to let him do a lot of things. Just because he's the president doesn't mean he gets to do whatever he wants. He didn't do it in the first term. He's not going to be able to do it in the second term. In fact, he's going to have a harder time in the second term. Trump's inauguration will be like a Klan rally. Yeah, probably. It's funny how Mike Turner won't vote for anything. Yeah, absolutely. And this is what Donald Trump does. He burns every bridge, scorches all the earth, and people end up hating him. Look at all the people in his cabinet in the first term. You think he's talking to any one of them that they're friends? No, it's not happening. You know how many defense secretaries he had in his first term? In 4 years? How many defense secretaries? We're worried about Pete Hegseth. He won't last long if he gets nominated or if he gets approved. You know how many defense secretaries he had in his first 4 years? 5. They didn't last a fucking year. So I don't worry a lot about Donald. Seems like a bunch of bots attacking the podcast, which equally lame comments tells me Mike is getting under their skin. Oh, I have the ability to get under people's skin. All you have to do is ask my wife and kids. They know all about that ability. And frankly, if I'm getting under their skin, I feel like I'm winning. So Trumplafucks, if I'm under your skin, I'm beating your ass. We're all beating your ass. Did you see all the people at the immigration offices going back to their home country? MAGA will get exactly what they deserve. Yeah. When we talk about economics, this whole deportation thing and all of this going on, this is going to impact the economy too. And some of the farmers and some of the other businesses, big business, and wait a minute, we can't do that. We can't run our businesses without these immigrant employees. But Donald Trump doesn't give a fuck about that. He doesn't care. These people are going to get burnt down. They knew exactly what he said he was going to do. They knew what he was going to do, but they still voted for him because they want a fucking tax break. Well, you fucked around and found out. You voted for the wrong guy, and now you're going to struggle. You thought you could talk him out of it, but he's still going to do it because Donald Trump never admits he's wrong. He doubles down. He triples down until he goes off the cliff. Well, guess what? You're going with him because you made the wrong choice. And if you want empathy from me, not going to happen. You're getting what you deserve. And I'm sorry that people are going to suffer over it, but you put yourself in this position. So glad that you woke up and realized how us Democrats need to fight. I just didn't wake up today. I've been doing this for 4 years. I've been trying to encourage people to fight, and a lot of people have in this effort. Unfortunately, our politicians, our leaders in Congress want to pussyfoot around. As much as I love Joe Biden, and I think he was a great president, he was living in a bygone era. He's living in an era when politics was polite. It's not polite anymore. It's a street fight. And if you're not ready for the street fight, you're going to get your ass kicked. Joe wants to be polite. He wants to be bipartisan. That world doesn't exist anymore. We need somebody who can fight on the level that the Republicans have been fighting for the last 8 years. Let's see here. Hi from the UK. Just subscribe. Thank you, Little Shamrock. TJ, okay, let's go on a little farther here. I'm a retired dairy farmer. We had a small family dairy. Trump didn't do anything for the dairy farmers. No. And he's not going to do anything now. He's just not going to do it. And I'm sorry for the people who voted against Donald Trump. They're going to suffer because that's going to happen. Good people who knew what was up, did not vote for Donald Trump, are going to suffer because of all these other fucking clowns voting for him. Man from the West says, you cool, Boomer. You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. People have asked me, what do you hope to accomplish? What do you want to do? I don't want to be a cool influencer. I don't want to be thought of as incredibly smart because I'm not. I'm not incredibly smart. I just talk a lot and I think about the things that are going on and I analyze them. But you know what? The one thing I want to do, probably the best title I have, the one I'm most proud of right now is Grandpa. I've got a granddaughter and a grandson coming. I love being a grandpa. But if I could have my wildest dreams, I'd want to be the cool grandpa. Everybody's got grandpas. I had grandpas. I want to be the cool grandpa. Now, my 4-year-old granddaughter may not realize it as yet, but she does know this. When she's with grandpa, it's not like somebody trying to keep her in line. Grandpa's with her, and we're going in to get into some shit. We're going to get in trouble, and grandma's going to get mad, and dad's going to get mad, but that's all right, because I'm the cool grandpa. I had a cool grandpa, 2 of them, and I learned from the best. Let's see here. Hope everyone's having a good evening. Yes, absolutely. I needed this live so much. I appreciate you still doing this. Oh, shit. I'm a retired old man with an attitude. What else am I going to do? Especially when I'm angered so much about what's happening and the ignorance that we see in this country. So I'm happy to do it, and I'm pleased that you spend the time to listen. That's the most amazing thing to me. When I started doing TikToks and then ultimately the podcast, I thought, who's going to listen to me? And I thought, who cares? I'm just going to fucking do it. It's not like I don't have the time. Let's see here. Adult diaper stock is skyrocketing tomorrow because of Donald Trump. Yeah, you're probably right about that. Hey, Mike, what do you think the chances are that the inauguration doesn't happen tomorrow? Yeah, I know what you're getting at. I don't think the chances of it not happening are very good. I think it will happen. I think there's a lot of people out there with some ideas that might stop the inauguration. And as much as I would love to believe that, I've seen no evidence that that's the case. Like I've said before, Did Donald Trump fuck around and cheat in the election? Yeah, absolutely. Is there some basis for using the 14th Amendment against him? Yeah, definitely. That's not the issue I have. The issue I have is, will the Democrats and the DOJ do anything about it? Because the last 4 years, they haven't done jack shit. They haven't held Donald Trump accountable. So I'm not convinced anybody's going to step in at the last minute and say, stop this here. Donald Trump will not be president. As I've said before, if I'm wrong, I will come out here and say I'm a dumb motherfucker. I was wrong, and I will giggle myself to sleep because I'll be so happy about it. I wish that were the case, but I've watched TikTok for years now. I've watched people come on, psychics and astrologers, and they promise you and they tell you that this is definitely happening. Hell, I watched somebody on TikTok today, the day before the inauguration, say, it's definitely happening. It's definitely happening. I try not to buy bullshit. And like I say, I hope I'm wrong about this, but I think it will happen. Panzer says, Mike, first time watching you live. Panzer, there's a goofy motherfucker. And he knows I mean that with total endearment. He's an emailer on the Rational Boomer podcast. And I'll remind folks, if you don't listen to the Rational Boomer podcast and hour and a half live isn't enough for you, we have a podcast that goes on every night. I have guests on frequently. I read emails. Panzer is kind of a sarcastic sort. That's why I like him so much. Let's see here. The more you care about those who you don't align with your beliefs, the more you will wear yourself out. If people just respected each other, the world would be a better place. But we are all human. LOL. Yeah, that's the problem. It's hard to be loving and caring of everybody when half those motherfuckers don't follow the same rule. I mean, how do you feel? I know it's the Christian thing, turn the other cheek and all that stuff. I'm afraid that's not me. I'm a flawed man. I am a sinner, and I can't turn the other cheek, especially when you do, and they continue to destroy what's important and what's good in this country. Alex Schmidt says they moved it indoors because the cold and for security reasons, and because the crowd is weak and he is an egomaniac. Say, hey, Mike, what do you think about TikTok stunt? What reason do you think they did this for? That's a good question, and that's one of the things I'm concerned about. I've been on TikTok a long time. I have a lot of followers on TikTok. I've liked TikTok. I've had problems with them because I don't like the way they run things and how they treat creators. I think the idea that they were going to shut down TikTok, ban TikTok, I don't think that was the intention of Congress or Joe Biden at all. Here's what happened. Donald Trump claims to be the savior of TikTok, right? Well, where did this whole idea of banning TikTok come from? It came from Donald Trump back in 2020. During COVID, Donald Trump was talking about ivermectin. He was talking about mainlining bleach into your veins. People on TikTok made fun of him, and this bugged him a lot. He was embarrassed, and that's the worst thing you can do to Donald Trump. So what does Donald Trump do? It's Chinese. You should ban it. Then the Republicans picked up on it. Yeah, they should ban it. And it just kind of a snowball. They tried to ban it before, and it didn't work. You know, a little thing like First Amendment. Then it went to Congress. And here's what the Republicans did. They were fucking around. We were at a point when they were blocking us from sending money to Ukraine, which is very important. Joe Biden and the Democrats desperately wanted to get money to Ukraine. We don't want to let Vladimir Putin run roughshod. So they had this bill with the humanitarian help for Ukraine. And they said, oh, by the way, we're going to put this in the bill too to shut down TikTok. Now, when I say humanitarian, I believe it was Ukraine. I may be wrong. It could be Gaza. It doesn't make a difference. They put this important bill, and then they stuffed the shutting down of TikTok in there. So the Democrats and Joe Biden had the option. Don't offer the humanitarian aid and keep TikTok, or vote TikTok out and get the humanitarian aid. They obviously made the right choice. They figured, well, going down the road, this will never happen. We'll get it figured out down the line. But it kept rolling. It kept rolling. Then it passes the House. Then it passes Congress or the Senate. And then Joe Biden signs it. This was a little bit of a shell game by the Republicans. If you were going to support TikTok, you were going to turn down humanitarian aid. So it was kind of a fucked up mess. So anyway, it gets shut down. And then they start realizing they fucked up. They fucked around and found out this is going to affect the economy. This is going to piss off 170 million people. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? It should have passed in that unanimous bill, if not for Tom Cotton standing up and fucking it over. Then when it went to the Supreme Court, they should have just said, yeah, this is a First Amendment thing. We don't want to deal with it. But they didn't. So here we'd come down to the last minute. And why did it come down to the last minute? That's a good question. You remember when Ronald Reagan beat Jimmy Carter? And one of the things he did, we were in the middle of a hostage crisis with people in Iran held hostage, and Jimmy Carter was close to getting them out. And what does Ronald Reagan do? He calls up the Iranians and said, "Hey, listen, keep the hostages till after the election, and I'll cut you a better deal when I'm president," which is exactly what happened. If he'd been a true humanitarian, he'd said, let's get those people out of there ASAP. But that's not what he did. He said, hold on to them a little bit, help me win the election, and then I'll cut you a good deal. And then, of course, we had the Iran-Contra trading arms and all that kind of shit. So that was a fucked up mess. This could be the same thing. Donald Trump's a little lower brow, and he's dealing with apps here, and he probably, we know he met with the CEO, right? We know he talked to the CEO beforehand, and he probably said, look, they're going to shut this down. I'm going to make Congress, I'm going to have the Supreme Court shut it down, and then I'm going to come in and save the day. I'm going to come and save the day. And I'm sure the CEO of TikTok said, whatever, man, I just don't want to shut this down. So they do shut it down for only 13 hours. They can't even wait till Donald Trump is president. Donald Trump says it, not being the president, and TikTok says, oh, well, that's good enough for me. Let's flip the fucker back on. I'll tell you what, TikTok was taking a beating financially by having it off. And that's why them saying, we'll just shut it down and not care. That's bullshit. They care. But is there an agreement between Donald Trump and TikTok? I don't know. But if Donald Trump is involved, if tech bros are involved, anything could possibly happen. And that's my greatest concern about TikTok. What is TikTok going to be now? It's one thing if TikTok is what was this great app. It wasn't a great app. As I've said before, the people on the app made it great. The technology is just the technology. But if TikTok is now obliged to Donald Trump, we have a fucking problem. Because if they're going to have their strings pulled by Donald Trump, then TikTok becomes nothing better than X or True Social. And then at that point, who cares? In fact, there's a lot of people right now saying, I'm not going back there because I don't trust him. They buddied up with Donald Trump. And I understand that. I'm going to stick on TikTok, but I'm going to be cautious about it, and I'm going to use them pretty much. We do a lot of stuff. We do all the same stuff on YouTube, on Substack, on Blue Sky. So I'm going to go on there, give my little dog and pony show. I feel an obligation to the many people that follow me there. I don't want to abandon them, but I'm going to promote the fuck out of YouTube and Substack and Blue Sky and say, listen, we don't know what's going on here. We don't know how long it will last, because whatever Donald Trump does, it only extends it for 3 months. They got to come up with something to fix it. So it could go away still. So we should be preparing now to migrate people from TikTok to other spots that are safer, that we aren't going to get fucked with. All right. People's main concern were the high prices in the border. Joe Biden wasn't taking care of that. Really? Really? Because there were more arrests on the border than Donald Trump. There was less people coming across the border than Donald Trump. The inflation came down from 9% down to 2.5%. So he's not doing anything. See, that's the thing. You listen to Donald Trump and the Republicans, but they're fucking pathological liars. Don't you see who the fool is here? Not Joe Biden, not me. You for believing a pathological liar. The fuck is wrong with you, for Christ's sake? I appreciate the way you tell it how it is, Mr. Nice. Thank you. Here's the thing, Mr. Nice. Based on the way I'm talking tonight, I'll never be confused for you, because Mr. Nice would have to be a sarcastic name if I use that. And I am a nice guy. I just don't like people that aren't nice people. I believe in giving them the same energy back. Bogarden, about TikTok ban, don't give Trump solutions to his problems, give him dilemmas. God bless Biden. Yeah, I agree with you. Let's see here. Kamala would have honestly been a better choice. Yeah, without saying. She might have been one of our better presidents ever. Lenny and Bub says 2 years of doing nothing in the Senate for Ohio, but somehow was experienced as long as you have Peter Thiel backing you. Yeah. Yeah, J.D. Vance is a plant. No one would have ever said he would be a likely prospect for vice president. I'll guarantee you this, Donald Trump never even looked at him as a vice president until Peter Thiel, who has a shit ton of money, Elon Musk, who's the richest man in the world, said, you really need to go with J.D. Vance. And now why would they want J.D. Vance? Because J.D. Vance is a tech bro too. If J.D. Vance gets to be vice president and something happens to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance becomes president, guess who is controlling the president? Peter Thiel and Elon Musk. That's the game there. Elizabeth Cheney says, I enjoy your content. I'm almost 56 and you remind me of my stepdad. He knew a year before that Don wouldn't want to leave the White House. Elizabeth, you're 56. I'm 65. At best, I'm your older brother. Experience in broken system is nothing. Who wants the corrupt, experienced people to be running the system? Agreed. Bogarden says, love your content. Thank you. Carlos Martinez says, Donald is worried about something else shriveling in the cold. Could it have something to do with mushrooms? I think it might. Jack White, in defense of Kamala Harris, bringing up her career as a prosecutor is pretty counterproductive. You don't really know much, do you? Counterproductive, Jack White. You mean as opposed to selling steaks or a fraudulent college, the prosecutor is counterproductive compared to that? I want somebody who's dealt with government, that knows something about the law, has respect for rule of the law. You can say what you want about Kamala Harris. Donald Trump has no respect for the rule of law. Don't you think that's kind of a necessary thing if you want to be a government official, president of the United States, no less? Don't talk to me about Kamala Harris. Look, Jack White, she lost. Why are you whining about Kamala Harris? Get out there and make America great again. Tell us what you're going to do. Hey, show us what you're going to do. Let's see you govern. You've never done it before. Can you do it now? Stop crying about Kamala. That's all over. That's old news. What are you going to do now? I bet you don't even fucking know, do you? Let's see here. Lynn and Bub says, at Lori, you're a mark. He has only grifted, and his record in real estate is not particularly impressive. You're absolutely right. He has been a failure in most everything he's ever done. 6 or 7 bankruptcies. He's robbed and stolen from vendors. He bankrupted a casino, for God's sake. That's a way to print money, and that dumb motherfucker couldn't even do that. Let's see here. It's hard to control these fucks, TJ Plummer. Yeah, TJ, we're getting to that point at about the hour and a half part, and I should probably wrap things up. I got to get to bed and do something. But I want to thank the moderators. Rebecca and TJ, they did a hell of a job. They keep us rolling and keep the Trumplefucks out of the mix. And all of you that have been watching and participating, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I want to remind you to check out the Rational Boomer podcast. It's here on YouTube in the video form. It's on Spotify in the audio form. And we do a show every night. In fact, this live will be used as the podcast for tomorrow. So please join us on the podcast. I'll be doing more lives here. I'll try to do some lives on TikTok. We'll be busy. It's going to be a busy 2 years, and tomorrow is the start of it all. And it's going to get crazy. So if it's going to get crazy, you might as well watch this crazy motherfucker, and hopefully we'll find some sense of a reality at some point in this world. So thank you very much for joining us. I hope you have a great day. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.